Perhaps the most neglected segment of 1/64 scale motorsport diecast is the Le Mans prototype division. Well, thanks to Spark, the people who bring you the very, very popular 1/43 scale Le Mans resin cast replicas, they've brought us some more of their 1/64 scale diecast. Now, they've done a few of these in the past, and I've reviewed them on the channel, namely the Nissan Delta Wing from 2012 and the Toyota TS030 LMP1 car, also from 2012. Well, thankfully, due to popular demand, they have done a big range of cars. I think there's something like 10 in total of Le Mans prototypes throughout the years. There's a couple Group C Porsches, and then there's more modern stuff like the 2014 Le Mans winning Audi, the Nissans, the ill-fated front-engine LMP1s, and then you've got the cars in front of you, which as you can see are the 3 Porsche 919 hybrids, which qualified first, second, and third at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 2015. The 19 car, the white one, went on to win the race. And then also, the blue prototype you see right there is the LMP2 class Signatech Alpine. It's an Oreca chassis with a Nissan engine, and yes, I'm pronouncing it Alpine. That is how John Heindaw pronounces it on the Radio Le Mans broadcast, and until I'm proven otherwise by a representative of Renault, I am going to pronounce it Alpine. These costed $17 for me on eBay. Now, eBay is the best place to get these unless you've got a local diecast dealer or a local dealer that deals Spark models regularly. eBay's your best shot. You're going to pay anywhere between $20 and $15. It seems to sway depending on who's selling these. I bought these cars from Burbank House of Hobbies on eBay, and the reason I'm giving them a shout out is because the 17 car that I originally received actually showed up broken in the package, and they sent me a new one free of charge. So that was very nice of them, so I'll give them a shout out on that one. But that's where I bought them, that's how much I paid, and if you're asking in the comments, you clearly didn't watch this far into the video. So, let's get this diecast review started by talking about the Signatech Alpine first. So the first major improvement Spark have made to their 1/64 scale diecast is the packaging. As you can see, it now comes in a acrylic case similar to what you would get if you bought one of their 1/43 scale resin cast models. But this is the old packaging for the diecast assortment, and obviously, as you can tell, it is still resealable, but it's just a cardboard box with a plastic clamshell. They've now gone to this very nice packaging, and it's actually kind of clever how it works to get the car out of the box. So you just take the slip cover off, which is fairly easy. Then you've got this plastic base. It's all plastic here, not too hard to deal with. Then you just grip the car hard, or just get a good grip on the car, because I made the mistake when I got the 919 Porsche out that I dropped it on the ground. It actually broke the wing off, unfortunately. But you just turn it to the right and pull your diecast off of the base. Now, as you can see, there is this little mechanism here which spins and actually locks the diecast into the base. You can see on the bottom there's the little key hole for that little key. So here's the Signatech Alpine out of its box. Obviously, like I said, LMP2 chassis. This is the 2015 version, so it has the low downforce aero configuration on the car, meaning that the front clip is a little bit longer and a little bit more rounded than the basic Oreca chassis that had been running for nearly 10 years at this point in Le Mans Series competition. But I think this is maybe, of the ones that I have, of course I only bought 2 different molds from Spark this time around, but I think this is the best diecast you can buy. It feels very solid, it rolls very well, and it's just, look at the graphics is another thing that Spark has improved mightily upon since their last run of 1/64 scales. There's not a lot of paint errors or paint inaccuracies. The The decals are all where they should be. The only thing that, again, we didn't get this time is tire printing. No Michelin logos on this car. I believe this car ran on Michelin's. It's possible it ran on Dunlop's, but who knows? But anyway, this is a very beautiful diecast. I think it's one of my favorite 1/64 scale cars I've ever bought. So I think it's definitely worth the money. We're going to zoom out just a little bit here so I can show off a little bit closer look of the car here, because there is some you could look at the details there, all the little sponsors all over this car. Very, very beautiful. And then, as you can see, rubber tires. That's another improvement that they have made on the diecast. They've gone from what was just a very hard plastic to rubber, so that's very nice. The dorsal fin is plastic, the rear wing is plastic, but this one, unlike the Porsche, I don't think is very easy to break off. It seems like it's fairly solidly in there, and it's even possibly part of the plastic chassis. Die-cast metal body, plastic chassis, plastic fin, plastic rear wing. I think these louvers here on the front are die-cast metal, part of the metal molding for the rest of it. But you can see they modeled the headlights as well. Down there, not too much cockpit detail, though they did model the they modeled a hair apparently, but they also modeled a good lord, get out of there, dude. Okay, they also modeled a steering wheel, and maybe there is some printing. Is there some printing on there? No, there is not. But yeah, very nice looking car. So just real quick, since I was talking earlier about the different sparks that they have available, just for comparison's sake, let's take a look at this car next to a 1/43rd scale. This is a resin cast model, like I said. Resin is just a different means of producing I guess you could call it die cast. This isn't really a die cast. This is definitely a model. This is a die cast. Get it, got it, good. Okay, but this model here is made of resin, like I said, and obviously it's much heavier and much bigger. Obviously much more detailed. As you can see, it's got like tire logo printing and all the little antennae and tuning vanes and whatnot. This is obviously the Muscle Milk Team Pickett racing car. Again, same chassis, same engine, but just a different series. I picked this up for $50 at Watkins Glen. Generally speaking, these will run about $80. So for a resin model 1/43rd scale, $80. For a 1/64 scale, $17. So that's the price range you're looking at. Obviously, you're getting a much better deal price-wise if you go 1/64. But just keep in mind that when you buy a 1/43rd scale, you're generally buying a very specific car. You're kind of at the mercy of whatever Spark decides to produce when they do a 1/64. So that's the comparison to scale with 1/43rd scale cars from Spark. Here's another comparison with some other 1/64 scale cars you may recognize from other series. We've got a NASCAR 1/64 from Lionel here, which I think is pretty much 1/64 scale, pretty good representation between the two cars. Obviously, Le Mans prototypes are very big and wide, and stock cars are kind of thin these days. And kind of top heavy, as you can see. Nice comparison. And then another car just to kind of throw in there, because I think it's pretty much a perfect 1/64 scale car, is a Kart Reynard that was produced by Hot Wheels. This is actually the Patrick Carpentier car. Ironically, I just realized I've got two Patrick Carpentier cars here. But anyway, Patrick Carpentier. I haven't shown that car off on the channel before, so I wanted to kind of do that. But as you can see, this is kind of the comparison: IndyCar, NASCAR, sports car, and all in the 1/64 scale range. So let's move on to kind of the stars of the show, the three Porsche factory cars that won the 2015 24 Hours of Le Mans. Here they are, the three little Porsches out of the box. Obviously the 919 hybrid, kind of the dominant car at Le Mans the last 3 years, winning it 3 races in a row. But I have to say this was the best year for the 919. It was the first win for the 919 hybrid at Le Mans. The first win for Porsche since 1998 at the 24 Hours. and it was the best use of their livery, which is mixed to say the least in terms of its reception. A lot of people don't like this livery. I would say it works best when you see all the three cars in different colors together, but obviously Porsche still maintained the good old-fashioned LMP1 rule, which seems to be an unwritten rule, that all the cars need to be black, red, and white. Audi and Toyota both have red and white and black cars. Well, Audi doesn't anymore because they don't exist anymore as a constructor. But regardless, I'd say Porsche definitely did the best job of the three. And speaking of best job, I think Spark did an absolutely fantastic job with these diecast. So first, let's take a look at the 18 car, which qualified on the pole at Le Mans in the hands of Neil Johnny. I believe it was a track record at the time, which has since been broken. You can notice a little bit of decaling error here on the dorsal fin, which I believe is plastic. It's actually kind of interesting how they did this. The rear wing is plastic, by the way, very fragile. We'll talk about that when we get to the 19 car. So be very careful with the rear wing on these cars. They're very, very fragile. But you can just see the molding. I mean, this is a 1/64 scale diecast here, folks, and it just looks immaculate. They modeled and painted the windshield wiper. You've got the LMP1 reflective foil wrapping on the top of the cockpit area. You've got the big honking holes here for the wheel arch, or where the wheel louvers used to be. They don't have those anymore. And just look at, they got the WEC or WEC, depending on if you're right or wrong in that pronunciation, and the 24 Hours of Le Mans logo. You've got all the logos here, the little dive planes and whatnot. Rubber tires again. No Michelin logos on the tires, but outside of that, this is just a fantastic looking piece of diecast. You can just see all of the molding and whatnot. Just looks really, really good. And then you've got the logo, or the livery, that's supposed to read Porsche Intelligent Performance. Can you read that? Can you read Porsche Intelligent Performance from that? But anyway, and then here's the bottom of the car. Not too much to go over. They ironically, Spark usually paints the barge boards underneath the car. They do not on their 1/64 scale diecast. But outside of that, this is a beautiful car. Let's move on to another beautiful car, and maybe the livery that the most people like. Seems like this is the most popular car in terms of just livery. Not talking about accomplishment, because I believe this car ended up finishing at the bottom of the pile in terms of the Porsche, as the Porsches were concerned, in the Le Mans 24 Hours of 2015. The 18 finished second, and obviously the 19 won the race. But just a beautiful looking diecast. Obviously, this is a bit of a tribute to the first victor of the 24 Hours of Le Mans for Porsche, the 917, that was, I believe, run by a Polish team, and thus ran a red and white livery, and that is what this is making tribute to. Just a lovely looking piece of diecast, this one as well, and I'm just lucky enough to have two, even though one's broken. So yeah, the 17, beautiful car. Again, a lot of people, I think, like that one, maybe the best. But obviously, I think Porsche likes this one the best, which not only is kind of the generic Porsche 919 livery, but it is the winner of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. This is the third car. This was the third car entered, which Porsche has not done since. They did it only 1 year, 2015, and it ended up paying off for them in a big way with a victory. Of course, Nico Hülkenberg, Formula One driver, active Formula One driver, both now and at the time, was in this car and when it won. So that was a kind of an interesting thing that happened, and a lot of people were talking about that. And then they scheduled the Baku F1 race the next year, where Le Mans happened, and Hülkenberg could not defend his crown. So as you can see, the rear wing, It's stuck in there right now, but it did break off, so I need to get some super glue and repair that. But at the moment, I'm just kind of stuck with it the way it is. But outside of that, just look at this thing. Actually, you know what? I will say this. In terms of a diecast, I think my favorite of the three is the 19. Not just because it won, but because I think it looks just iconic. I know people, again, think it's a bad livery, but to me, it's an iconic livery at this point. It's going to be reminiscent of the Porsche 919 when the program eventually ends. We don't know at this point if it will end. There's some speculation that it will. So this car, as far as I'm concerned, is iconic as the Rothmans Porsche or the DHL RS Spider, and I'm happy to have this car in my collection. It seems to be selling quite well, so if you want this one, you better go after it, though I would hope that Spark is smart enough to continue production of all these cars, because they're leaving money on the table as far as I'm concerned if they don't. So that's the three Porsches all together. Let's get the Alpine back in here and give some final thoughts. So there you have it, a sampling of Spark's new 164 scale Le Mans prototypes. I can't stress enough to go out and buy one of these cars if they interest you. I want this range and this line of diecast to continue. I love buying Le Mans 164s, and I'm hoping to see these continue into the long future. And besides, it'll be a cool addition to your collection, I would say, to have a little bit something different in your 164 scale diecast collection. So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube. We'll see you in the next video, and go buy some Le Mans 164s.